Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Eddie Aparicio, and I'm joined here by my co-host Anthony Corral, and this is Buzzer Beaters, a podcast brought to you by GrumblingsMedia.com that's dedicated to the NBA. You can find us on GrumblingsMedia.com as well as any other podcast outlet that you can think of: Pandora, YouTube, Spotify, any of those, right? So just check us out, Buzzer Beaters, under the call name GrumblingsMedia.com, where this is actually episode 32, believe it or not. And, we haven't had one in about almost a month because, of course, life got in the way, man. We got the holidays that were there, right? And then Twan unfortunately had some personal things that kind of came down on him. And I know it's been a rough few weeks for you, bro, because I know you've had to deal with the passing of your uncle and also your brother-in-law being in the hospital. And now it sounds like he's on the path to recovery, but it's going to be a slow process, man. But glad to have you here, man, and hope everything's okay with your family, man, and your wife, of course, and your daughters. You're dealing with a lot of stuff right now. So as well as
thank you, brother. Thank you. We're trekking along. I'm glad 2024 is over. That was a little bit of a rough year there at the end.
Yeah, especially towards the end for you, bro. Damn.
Yeah. So moving into 2025, I'm glad. I'm glad we're starting up the show again.
Yeah. It's a little diversion, man. It's a diversion from reality, man. Is what it is, really, for you, right?
Yeah.
So but I'm how's he doing, man? By the way,
he's better. He's home. He's got a long road ahead of him. A lot of physical therapy, a lot of just kind of getting back in the swing of things. So he'll be recovering for a while, but he's home. He's stable. That's really all we can ask for at this point.
Absolutely, man. That's major, man. So, and Gail's all right too. Gail's
good. Gail's good. Okay. Yeah.
Good. All right, man. All right, bro. So anyway, we're here on episode 32. We had our last episode, I think it was December 7th, and that was episode 31. And what we typically do is we go over multiple topics. Actually, this time we're going to go through 4 topics. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover some of the trades that have actually happened during the course of the NBA season. We're not going to cover essentially the trades that happened, right before the NBA season, but the ones there's only been a few that have happened, in the last month. But there's definitely going to be a flurry of trades coming here, I think, shortly within the next month, because February 6th is actually the trade deadline in the NBA. And I know that our team, and I'm wearing it right here, they're going to be very active, man. I mean, we're not going to dedicate this podcast to the Warriors, but they're definitely going to be an active player in the trade market for sure. But we're going to go ahead and cover some of the NBA trades that have transpired. And then something that Twan and I have covered in the last few months is that we have this rookie watch where we assess, the rookie performance, and we're going to cover that on a monthly basis to kind of predict who we think could be the rookie of the year. But we go through different analytics. We go through, the amount of time that they play per game, the amount of points, analytics, overall, what does that say? And then we kind of compare that to what, NBA.com has their rookie ladder. And we're going to kind of compare and contrast that. But we're going to go through that. And then another thing that we're going to go over is actually something that, was the genesis of all this, Twan, was that, I watch YouTube videos here and there, and of course I watch NBA related stuff. I mean, this is kind of what we do, right? But it was interesting, man. I saw this video that actually kind of had an animated kind of, kind of like a NBA 2K kind of process almost, but they actually had they were trying to deduce who the best one-on-one player of all time is. And I'm like, that's kind of an interesting topic. Why don't we go ahead and see if we can do that? So the third topic is what we're going to go is I'm calling it the quest to determine the overall best one-on-one player of all time. And then also we're going to go ahead and have a quest to determine the best starting 5 from a division of all time. Okay.
Yes.
Very different, right? We're going to, and I bet you a lot of you guys out there, we only think of the NBA as Eastern and Western Conference, right?
Yeah.
There are 6 divisions in the NBA.
There are 6 divisions. No one remembers that, but there are 6 divisions.
There are 6 divisions, and the only one that we know is specific, right? But anyway, we're going to cover each of those divisions, and what we're going to do is we're going to pick. Twan and I are going to go ahead and pick. We're going to discuss. The teams that or the players from each of the teams that we want to cover. And this week we're going to cover the which one was it? It was the Southwest. Yeah. So it was the Southwest division of the Western Conference. Okay, so that would be the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Mavericks, the Spurs, and the Pelicans. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick the best player from each of these franchises, And once we come up with that best player from each of the franchise, it's going to come up with a starting 5 of that division, right? And then we're going to go ahead and use, and every week we're going to do the same thing, right? Until we get to all the divisions covered. So,
so a little caveat, because as usual, you know, for those of you that don't know, you know, Eddie or I will come up with a topic, and we don't really meet or go over it. We kind of, so just so we're clear, I'm looking at my team as a team, right? So I had an internal argument with myself. Like this player is better than that player.
Yeah.
But I don't need a big. I need a small, you know, or I need a small, not a big, or
you know, and I didn't necessarily do it that way, bro. What I did is I actually just picked the best player, not even taking into account how we're going to construct this team. You know, I just went ahead and picked the best player from each team within that division, and whatever that came up. And by the way, my choices are not necessarily going to mesh with yours, but my ultimate goal, or our ultimate goal, is to decide on one for each team between us. We're going to probably banter a little bit on who we think, right? But ultimately, we're going to come up with, for the Southwest Conference or division of the Western Conference, we're going to come up with a 5, and that's going to be the starting 5. And amongst those 5, we're going to pick who the best one-on-one player is amongst those 5 for this week. Okay.
All right. I like it.
Every week we're going to do that. We're going to go through each division, pick the best starting 5, the best player from each of those teams, and then come up with the starting 5. And then amongst those 5, we're going to come up with the best one-on-one. But we're going to continue talking about the start, those 5 that we reserved, right, each week, and then we're going to come up with this kind of tournament, if you will, right, at the end. We're going to go.
I like it.
You get what I'm saying? And we're going to do the same thing. Kind of the same thing, but we're going to go through a discussion. We're not doing this video that's kind of like, animated in this and that. We're just talking through it, right?
Yeah.
All right. So that's going to be topic number 3. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about, our rookie fantasy team and conference seedings update. It's been a while since we talked about that, but we have this little contest that we've had since the beginning of the season where we drafted, 5 rookies on each of our teams. And it's kind of like a fantasy league, if you will, between Twan and I. And we pick 4 first rounders and then 1 second rounder for each team. And then we're accumulating the stats for the entire season. And we have a spreadsheet that's going to show you that if this is your first time seeing it or being on the show, because we've been talking about this on every show at the end, right? So anyway, those are the topics we're going to talk about for this week, and then we'll wrap it up. Our intent is to go about an hour each week. Sometimes we've been going a little bit over. Sometimes we've been a little under, but that's rare, bro. We've actually always been over, right? But it's about an hour is what we're striving to bring as content for you, and it's only dedicated to basketball, okay? So just so you know, only basketball. NBA is the emphasis right now because that's really what's going on. All right, so Twan, let's go ahead and let's talk about some of the trades, man. All right, so the trade deadline is happening in next month, right? It's actually Thursday, February 6th. Yeah, the February 6th, I think, is the trade deadline.
That's right, yeah.
Right. So there have been some trades that have happened. Not many, but there's really only 3, right? And we're probably not going to talk too much about these 3, but maybe what we could do is assess some of the trades that happened at the beginning of the season and see where we think they're at, right? Some of them. Not all of them, but some of them, right? Yeah. So the one so the first trade that took place was a kind of a small one, and it's definitely something that I think this team really, really needed. And the Pacers, the Pacers and the Heat went ahead and did a trade. And Thomas Bryant was dealt to the Pacers from the Heat in exchange for a 2031 second round pick swap. It was a pick swap between the two. That happened first. That was in December 15th, right? So we know that the Pacers lost James Wiseman. They also lost Isaiah Jackson. So they were very thin at the front court because of this. Miles Turner had to carry a big load. But we know that the Pacers actually are starting to play a lot better now, man. They're starting to get their game going, right? They're now 19 and 18. They're blowing out the Nets right now. I think it's the Nets, but they're blowing somebody out right now. And they're on their way, and they kind of handed it to the Warriors too, right? So this team is definitely on the rise, like we all thought they would be. But what are your thoughts, man? I mean, Thomas Bryant. I mean, he's kind of a journeyman, kind of big man. I mean, he's balling tonight, by the way, just so you know. Anyway.
I think this was a good pickup. I mean, a second round swap. They needed some size. They got him, like you said. James Wiseman's been hurt. They had a couple of other big men that have been kind of hurt. So I think it's a good pick. I mean, it's nothing kind of out of the 3. I would say this is the least notable.
Right.
in terms of out of the 3 trades that were made. Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, and they needed it. It was definitely something that they needed, and they're already a pretty deep team. They were a very deep team before those 2 injuries happened, right? But and they for whatever reason were not necessarily playing very well, but they're hitting their stride right now. And what's interesting is that the one guy who's been hurt, pretty much the whole time is Neesmith, and he hasn't been on the court. And that's interesting that they kind of had this big falter with Neesmith, not being on the lineup, and all of a sudden they weren't the same team. It's kind of almost reminiscent of what happened with the Warriors when DeAnthony Melton disappeared, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing. Like, what the hell just happened, right? So that's a good segue into the next trade, okay? Because the next trade that happened in December, actually the day after, was on December 16th, where the Warriors had this gaping hole once they had their starting lineup all set. When they had DeAnthony Melton inserted in the starting lineup, and he was a great fit. But he blew out his knee, man. And unfortunately, they had to go ahead and make a trade, and he got traded. His contract along with Reese Beekman to the Nets in exchange for Dennis Schroeder. So Dennis Schroeder's now to the Warriors. What are your thoughts on that trade right now to this point?
So from a talent level, I thought it was a great trade.
Me too.
I think Dennis Schroeder is an active player. Where I have a concern is from the scheme perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
Dennis Schroeder's a pick and roll guy. He's a kind of attack the hoop guy. Everyone knows that's watched the Warriors. They're a motion offense. They move the ball around. It's interesting. I don't want to go knee deep into the Warriors, but I almost feel like when Schroeder's on there, Curry shouldn't, and and vice versa. It's almost like they're running a sub different offense in order to make Schroeder be more effective. He started off a little rough, but I didn't really I didn't look at it like he sucks or it was a bad trade. I think he's a good player. I just think it's going to take him a while to figure it out amongst other things on how.
Yeah, I mean it's a read and react offense, and he's a pick and roll player, and he's really super fast, man. I mean, when I first heard this trade, I'm like, oh my God, thank God we don't have to defend that guy anymore, because you remember against the Nets. By the way, the Warriors have gone 6-15 since the Nets actually started that whole downfall, man.
Yeah.
Remember when the Nets played the Warriors and the Nets had a bunch of scrubs, and then they went ahead and beat us? I'm like, oh my God. And Dennis Schroeder was one of the guys who really was killing us. So when he came on to the Warriors, I'm like, oh my God, thank God we don't have to freaking guard that guy anymore, because he's so freaking fast. But what's interesting, as you noted already, Twan, is that it's not necessarily a fit yet from a offensive scheme standpoint. They have to figure out how to best have what he brings to the team, which is speed and being able. And he's a very good defender, but his speed and kick, right? That's kind of what he can do very, very well in pick and roll, of course. But I think Steve Kerr has to figure out how to best accentuate his strengths. He's going to have to figure out how to massage the offense when Dennis Schroeder's on the court. Maybe when Curry's not on the court, but when Dennis Schroeder's on the court, right? And he's going to probably have to figure out some adjustment to enhance his skill set, because right now he looks a little lost, man, and it's understandable. It's a whole new thing for him. He's never had to be a secondary. I mean, he's always been kind of one of the big guys on the team. He just breaks defenses down, and now he's coming onto a team that has a superstar, right? And he's just trying to figure out how to fit, man. So
the interesting part is obviously Kuminga hurt his ankle. He's going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks. But the interesting thing, you take Trayce Jackson-Davis, you take Kuminga, and you take Schroeder.
Yep.
Now I would argue that you add Steph and Draymond, and that's probably Wiggins. You have Wiggins. But those are probably the top 6 most talented players you have on your squad. Right?
Correct. Yes.
Those 3 guys in particular, Trayce Jackson-Davis, Kuminga, and Schroeder, they're less motion offense, and they're more isolation, pick and roll. Dive in and throw back out. That. So the Warriors, they're interesting because they're going to have an intriguing. Obviously we know the formula of what Draymond and Steph do wins championships, but they're getting old, man. They can't carry a squad, and I don't know what's going to come of this.
Yeah, and again, we don't want to make it too Warrior centric, but dude, the radio was totally blowing up. It was blowing up today, bro, about people expressing frustration. The hosts were pretty much kind of saying, "Hey, look, we saw this piece." I don't know if you read that piece from ESPN.
No, I heard about it, but I didn't read it.
I read it. And it was actually a very, very good article. But to sum it up, man, they have, the Warriors. They are trying to do what's best for Steph right now. They're trying to win now.
And I don't know if that's the right.
Yeah, but that's what I know. I agree with you. But this is what's creating this conundrum right now, right?
Yeah.
They're in this state where they want to maximize Steph's, last few years and try and get him that 5th ring, right? But right now they don't have the wiggle room to be able to do anything noteworthy. They're going to have to give up some significant assets to be able to bring a difference maker on the team. Now they're talking about, a Nikola Vucevic, who I think is actually a pretty good fit. And he's one of the guys I told you a long time ago he would be a good fit for the Warriors, right? That's their number one trade target from what I've heard, right? But the Bulls are not just going to give him away, man, right? They're going to want more, right? So that's the thing, is that they're kind of in this predicament where they have to win now because of Steph. He's running out of time, really, and he's even he's shown some exacerbation right now, man. I mean, he's exasperation right now because of what's going on with the team. The team, he knows. I think he deep down inside knows it's not good enough to win, and they need to do something because the management senses that he's probably getting frustrated, and the guy doesn't really openly show frustration, but he's starting to show it right now, man. And that's
the $1 million question that I wonder, and I'm sure people in across the NBA universe will be yelling at me, but is the right answer to try to build a team to run as Steph as the leader, or is the right decision to create a team where Steph is a supplement?
I think it's probably, and the thing is that if they had more wiggle room, then they could do the latter, what you just said. But they don't have the wiggle room. They're going to have to give up a big asset that they don't want to give up, namely a Jonathan Kuminga. And by the way, the Jonathan Kuminga injury came at the worst time for this team because they were starting to kind of show that he could be that guy, man. He could be, because he was
showing signs.
Oh,
and another thing too is, both Draymond and Steph historically have been very poor at valuing the possession, right? They've always had a lot of turnovers.
Absolutely.
And you and I have pulled out our hair and, been upset about that over many
years. Over 10
years. The problem is that turnover seems to have increased, but their production has decreased.
Correct.
Which is now that's magnified even more. Like you can't.
That's a good call, man. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And that's so they're in this conundrum right now. They're going to be very active. We know that for sure, right? Yeah. Because we knew that they had some time to kind of right the ship, but now Kuminga's injury is forcing their hand right now. It's forcing them.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the camp to not give up your young talent because you're not going to. Let's just take Jimmy Butler, right? Who's on the trade block, was suspended by the Heat. I wouldn't want him for Kuminga. I wouldn't. He's expensive.
I wouldn't either. Because he's only going to get maybe 1 or 2 years max. That's it.
Yeah, and then what do you do when all those pieces go away? Now you're left with nothing.
But see, the thing is that the Warriors want to win now. They want to win it for Steph. Yeah, that's what they want. Because if they get another championship, man, I mean, they're going to be highly regarded as probably, them, the Bulls, and the Lakers as the 3 best franchises that we have ever seen. And that 5th one is going to solidify. I think that whatever that is going to solidify them as the top 3 of all time. And also, anytime you win championships, the valuation of the team goes up too, right? So there's a lot of benefits for doing that, right?
I hear you. I honestly don't know if it's possible.
It's not possible. Mike Dunleavy's got his work cut out for him, man. So but anyway, the last trade, because we probably are not going to be able to cover the rest of the trades because we have a lot of content still to cover. We had the Lakers and the Nets. Nets are a team that has been dealing, man. They got the Nets gave Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton to the Lakers in exchange for D'Angelo Russell and Maxwell Lewis. And I don't know who Maxwell Lewis is. I've never seen the guy. Anyway, but dude, Twan, you and I have, we were talking about the Lakers early on, right? We talked about D'Angelo Russell didn't seem to fit, man. He just looked a little lost, and he just he wore, not that he wore it out his welcome, because he got drafted by the Lakers, right? So it's just that for what they were trying to do, he just, I don't know, he's a streaky shooter. He's a good passer when he wants to be, but he just didn't defensively. He was kind of inconsistent, and the Lakers got two really good defensive players in exchange. Dorian Finney-Smith is a 3-and-D guy. He can shoot, and he's a really good defender. And Shake Milton is actually a pretty good guard that he can defend as well. He's not necessarily the best offensive player, but you can see that the Lakers are valuing defense right now. That's why they did this deal. And we'll see. D'Angelo Russell went back to the Nets because that's who we went to, after the Lakers. So actually, no, after the Warriors, because the Warriors dealt him to the Nets, right? So but anyway, so what are your thoughts, man, on that one?
So out of the three trades, this was my favorite. We talked about during the offseason, I wanted Dorian Finney-Smith for the Warriors. D'Angelo Russell's sort of a conundrum. His personality, the way he plays, he behaves as though he's the number one player on a team. That's his demeanor. That's his style. He's just not good enough to be a number one player on a team. You know?
He was a number 2 draft pick, too. He's a number 2 pick. I don't forget what year.
In my opinion, he's just not good enough. So, I think, if he goes to the Nets, where he's at, he'll put up numbers. He'll do good. And actually, he came from the Nets to the Warriors, right?
Right.
Because he was part of the Kevin Durant trade that sent him out.
Right.
And I think he'll go to the Nets and he'll put up good numbers and he'll improve his name, and then some team that is trying to get a championship will bring him on, and it'll fall apart again because he's just not. It's gonna be a yo-yo. He's good enough to be great on a really crappy team. That's kind of the way
I agree with you. I agree with you on that, man. So and I think it was a good move for the Lakers for sure.
I like this move. I think it's good.
Yeah, and Dorian Finney-Smith is a sneaky good player, man. I mean, he doesn't wow you with stats. He's just a very good.
He's a 3-and-D guy,
Yeah, 3-and-D guy, and that's very valued in the NBA.
Yeah.
So So all right, man. So that's it for the trade review, man. So now we're gonna go through our rookie assessment phase, man. So you have the slides, man. So we can go ahead and
which you want to go to
the PPT, the PowerPoint.
Okay, got it. Yep.
All right,
let's do there. Let me share my screen. Where is it? This one.
Yeah, it's the one with
this one, right?
Yeah, 4 slides. Yeah, there we go. All right. So all right. So Twan and I have been covering the rookies and how they're performing on a few different categories, right? And what we've been doing is this is our third instantiation of doing this, and we're going to do this monthly because I think it's an interesting topic to cover.
Yep.
But what I want to show here is that you're going to see 2 columns. The first column on the left is the rankings for today's episode. So that's why you see today's date right there, February 8th, 25. And then episode 31 is when we last talked about this. And then what we did is this is the rankings in terms of minutes played. Okay, now in the rankings in episode 31, you can see Bub Carrington was the top guy, and that's why you see the picture on the bottom is the one who's at the very top. That's the picture that you're going to see at the very bottom for each of these columns, right? But what you see there on the left column is you're going to see the minutes being 30 minutes right there. You see for Bub Carrington, it's 30 minutes, and last time it was 28.6. It went up by 1.4. That's what you see in green. It went up by 1.4 minutes. But the parentheses after the 30 minutes tells you they haven't changed in their ranking, their position. So he's still first. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show out what everybody's seeing, and you're going to see the same kind of thing for each ensuing 3 slides after this. So you can see now, bro, Bub Carrington is still being the most played rookie right now. As a matter of fact, the top 2 guys are from Washington, right? Washington is trying to showcase their rookies, and bravo for them. They should be doing this because they're not really going anywhere, right? And then they want to get their fan base excited about what's to come, right? And right now, I would say, to me, Bub Carrington's a very good player, but the guy who I think has stood out right now so far has been Alex Sarr. Honestly, I think he's been, and you'll see when we have this fantasy rookie thing that we have between Twan and I, you're going to see that how many points he's accumulated to this point, and it's like a lot, right? So we'll go ahead and go through that. But you can see Alex Sarr, he went up in rankings, up by 1, because last time he was the 3rd ranked guy in the last episode. Now he's number 2. Yves Missy, man, that guy has been playing really well. And what's interesting is you'll see later, NBA.com has him as the number one guy right now on the rookie watch. Okay, on the rookie ladder, they have him as number one, and Yves Misty is getting a great opportunity to flourish in New Orleans because of all the injuries that they've had. They just got Zion Williamson back, so he just started playing yesterday or 2 days ago. And so we're gonna see. But Brandon Ingram is still out. DeJounte Murray is there. So you're gonna see this guy kind of flourish. Yves Misty, I think. Jared McCain's been out.
By the way, when you bring up Zion, he's been on the rumor mill about being traded.
I know, because he's never available. Never available, man. But he's a super good talent, but he's just never available.
I mean, to me, not just Warrior centric, but any team that is looking to get better, that's the kind of gamble that you would have to take to get better, right? Because Zion is a franchise player that's never available.
Never available.
But should you get him and he be available, you got yourself a franchise talent.
Yep. And I think he needs to go out. He needs to change the scenery. He really does. Because I think he's starting to wear out his welcome in New Orleans because he's just never available, right? And I think they need to make a change there. He needs to go to a team that has a winning culture. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if, they try and trade him to Miami, because I guarantee you Pat Riley is trying to do something to get rid of Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler, he's probably not going to want to go to the Pelicans because the Pelicans are stinking it up right now. But it's because of their injuries. It's not because they're bad. It's just that they're injured, right?
Well, I don't know if you saw, but the Grizzlies were interested, and Jimmy Butler has an option for next year for $52 million or $55 million or some amount,
right?
And he told Memphis, which blows me away, to be honest with you, because I think Memphis is a competitive team. He told them, if you pick me up, I won't re-sign there.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's playing hardball.
He is, man.
I was just gonna say, I like Jimmy Butler's style. I like, his leadership, like in terms of his aggression and how he plays on the court. But this is now the third team where he's there. He wears out his welcome, miserable, and now he wants to leave. Like, if I'm an organization, I'm looking at him as no more than a 1 to 2 year player max, and then I gotta let him walk because it's gonna go south on me, at some point.
Yeah, but the thing is it's his age, man. His age is kind of what's holding up a lot of GMs from making any. I mean, unfortunately, this situation has forced Pat Riley's hand to do something because even though he's suspended for the team, there is an effect to the team for this kind of just, if he's still there, there's a shadow there that's just like that's a shadow of negativity that the team doesn't need. So what's happened, unfortunately, Pat Riley is going to unfortunately get him for pennies on the dollar right now, right? Where he probably could have got a lot more if this thing wasn't happening, but it is. And teams are going to recognize that the Miami Heat need to move this guy, so they're not going to give up too much, right? In exchange for that.
But Pat Riley's a hard ass, so
he is a hard ass. I mean, he called him out on the media. He called out Jimmy Butler, man. It's like, whoa.
He just won't give it. He won't give him up for nothing. I mean, yes, I think his value is definitely lower.
Correct.
But it isn't like Riley's just going to give him his way. Like, I can see Riley holding his ground,
All I'm saying is that, unfortunately, Riley isn't going to get as much as he would.
You're right. You're absolutely right on that. He won't.
Well, that's all I'm saying. Is unfortunate. It's Butler's forcing their hand. But anyway, so as we're going through this top 10 in minutes played, you can see that the top. The guys who, we already talked about Yves Misty, Jared McCain, he's been hurt, but he's still up there because he started blowing up. Jalen Wells is a guy that, he kind of appeared, on this list last time. He was number 7, but he's a really good player, man. I mean, he's a very good, defensive guy. I don't know if you saw, but
Memphis got some players, man. Memphis is
long and athletic. And the thing is, they're not fully healthy right now, man. They're still Santo Aldama's missing right now. You got freaking Ja Morant missing right now. Yep. I mean, they're deep, man. And again, they sucked last year. But what happened when they sucked is they developed all these players, right? Jalen Wells is a rookie, but all these other guys got a chance to play. Even G.G. Jackson hasn't played yet, right? Yep. So those are 3. They're all long and athletic guys. So Jalen Wells is a really good player who's up and coming. And he shut down Curry, man. He's the one. He's going to be able to tell his kids and his grandkids, hey, Steph Curry, probably one of the greatest players of all time. Yeah, I shut him down to no field goals. He held him to no field goals. First time I think it's ever happened in Steph Curry's
career. That hasn't happened.
It's never happened, right? So Jalen Wells is the guy who did that. And then you keep on going down the line. There's Tristan Da Silva, Keyshawn George, and Stephon Castle, right? Go to the next one. By the way,
Stephon Castle was on the list on our last ranking. He was number 2, so he's dropped. What is that? About 6?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, thank you. He's dropped 7 or 8, 6. He's dropped 6.
Yep.
So yeah, thank you for catching that. All right, man. So we can go to the next one.
All right.
So we have points per game here. All right. So you can see here. I don't know why sometimes the formatting gets a little weird. Jared McCain is the number 1 guy last time, and he's still the number 1 guy this time. And Jared McCain hasn't played in quite some time. He's missed about 7 games. Correct. So even then, he's still the top guy. But you can see, it's already mentioned Alex Sarr. Okay, he has gone up. He's gone up 5 steps. He's number 2 right now. Yep. Jalen Wells, aforementioned Jalen Wells, he's gone up 1 because he was number 4 last time. He was number 3. But what you can see is the deltas in the red and the green tells you how many points per game that they've gone up or down, right? Yep. So Stephon Castle, interestingly enough, was not. Oh yeah, well he was on the list. Yeah. Thank you. For whatever reason, he's on the list. So ignore that. But yeah, he was number 2 and he's dropped down 3. Tristan Da Silva though, he wasn't on the list, so he's a new entry. So he's the very one at the very bottom. He's missing Bub Carrington, who were the top ones in the earlier slide, which was the minutes per game. This is points per game. So you can see the effectiveness of how many minutes they get and what their effectiveness in each minute. That's probably why they're kind of down on these lists. These are more kind of like analytics kind of based things, but you can see how it's changed a little bit since the course that we had this last time. So you go to the next.
He's held about even.
But was that?
Missy, he's held about even. He's missing.
Yeah. Missy's held about even. Bub Carrington's held even. Those guys haven't changed, right? So, but looks like Keyshawn George is the guy who disappeared from this list. In the previous list, Jonathan Mongbo was the guy who disappeared from that list. But we can go to the next one, man. So the next slide. This is overall rankings for like points. This is kind of the effectiveness that each of these rookies have when they play, right? All the stats they accumulate during the minutes that they play. This is kind of like what this is showing. That's why you kind of seem like a Donovan Clayton who showed up on the last time. He doesn't get that many minutes, right? But when he's in there, he makes things happen, right? Could be rebounds, could be blocks, could be steals, could be any of those things that he's accumulating stats. He doesn't get that much playing time though, right? But it's just showing you, this is what's showing you like their effectiveness, like on a per minute basis, right?
Correct.
So you can see.
He wasn't even on the minutes or the points. The previous 2 lists, he wasn't anywhere on there.
Correct.
But when he's in there, he's effective. I get it. Yep.
That's exactly. That's what this list is telling you, it's showing you, right? So it's interesting. It's a little skewed, but you can see like the new entrance into this list, Dalton Connect. He wasn't on the last. Oh no, he was. Yeah, I don't know why, man. I'm doing this too late, man. I think I'm not seeing it. But he was on the list. He was on the list last time. He just dropped 1. But Keyshawn George is the guy that's new on this list, and then Kel'el Ware is new on this list.
I was wondering when he had a fabulous Las Vegas, a summer league, and he kind of just didn't play. He wasn't
but he's
playing.
Playing now. He's playing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see there that this list right here. You can see the guys that were highly rated, and the other Missy's up there in number 3. I mean, this shows like again, I showed you that. We'll get to the next slide after what I say here is that NBA.com has them as the number 1 guy. Right, he's just effective when he's in the game. He's getting his opportunity because of all the injuries that have happened in New Orleans, and he's just flourished. Jared McCain was another one because they were also injured quite a bit because Paul George was out and Joel Embiid, so he definitely took advantage of his opportunity. Right. Unfortunately, Donovan Clingan hasn't gotten that many minutes because of DeAndre Ayton. And, the Portland Trailblazers, you and I had this little bet. Detroit Pistons are definitely playing better than the Portland Trailblazers right now, right? But we shall see because, the Portland Trailblazers, it'd be interesting to see on another show, we can go over their net ratings, right? We kind of want to compare that, which I didn't have for today, but we can see that like how they rate from an offensive and defensive rating standpoint and how they compare against the Detroit Pistons. But anyway, so we can go to the next, and you can see Zach Edey's the number 1 on this one. All right. Wow, this one got a little messed up. So anyway, this is the rookie watch, the rookie ladder that ESPN.com. That's what you see on the far left, and then the far right is what you saw in the previous slide that showed the analytics and how they are rated, right? But you can see that Zach Edey was the best guy from an analytics standpoint, because when he's on the court, things happen. And right now, according to NBA.com, he's number 3 on the list, whereas He's Missy is number 1, where he was number 3 on the analytics. So they're not that far behind from the top 3. I mean, they're just kind of like swapped, right? As far as the analytics, what the analytics say versus what subjective NBA.com says, right? It's just, the top 3 are pretty much there, right? But what's interesting is that Jared McCain is not on the list because he hasn't been playing on NBA.com's list. Stephon Castle is now on the list, but he wasn't on the list last time. He is getting a lot more playing time too, and he's actually doing very effective. And what's interesting is that, he sometimes starts, sometimes doesn't. So they're kind of mixing and matching on how they want to utilize this asset, because I think he's going to be a very, very good player. So then you can see your boys, Zachary Richarche, showed up at number 6 on their list on NBA.com. And, on the other list, he's not even there, right? On the analytics, he's not even there. He's there, but he's not in the top 10.
In terms of impact, he's not even in there. Yeah, correct.
He's not in there. He's there. I think he's number 13 from what I saw, but he's not not top 10. But you can see AJ Mitchell. Where is he at? He's not on the analytics side either, right?
No.
But
he plays on a high-profile team.
OKC, right? Exactly. So, but anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and kind of break down. Like I said, we're going to do this on a monthly basis. But if we were to go ahead and the analytics says Zach Edey should be the rookie of the year.
Correct.
NBA.com is saying he's Missy.
What's interesting thing on your analytics, Donovan Clingan isn't even. I mean, I bet you he's not in the top 20.
No. Actually, you know what? Actually, let me see. Let me see if he is. Donovan Clingan is actually. Let me see. Where is he at? Analytics. Oh wait, you know what? He is there. I missed him. He's number 6.
Oh, okay.
I didn't put him in there. Yeah,
that puts out.
I think I just did this late, man. I just missed out on stuff. But yeah, Donovan Clingan is after Bub Carrington.
Okay.
So yeah, so he should be on that. Jonathan Clingan. Yeah. Anyway, so he should be Donovan Clingan should be number 6, Bub Carrington should be number 7, Jalen Wells should be number 8, Dalton Connect number 9, and Keyshawn George number 10. So that's the Keyshawn George. So anyway, that's my bad. Okay. Anyway, so we can go ahead and end this segment, Twan. We're done with this one. So now we're going to go on to the part that I think is going to be fun, man. And this is going to be the one that we're going to go ahead and this is our quest to determine the best one-on-one player of all time, as well as the best divisional starting 5 of all time. And as I mentioned earlier when we first started this, there are 6 divisions in the NBA. And what we're going to start today is the Southwest Conference, or the Southwest Division of the Western Conference. Yep. So we're going to go ahead and go through the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Mavericks, the Spurs, and the Pelicans. All right, bro. So let's start with the Grizzlies, right? Okay. I had 2 guys here that I thought deserved to be considered the best asset or the best player of all time in that franchise history.
Okay.
I had your boy Mike Conley.
Okay.
He was on my list, and I currently have also John Morant on that list.
Okay, that's your list.
Those are the 2 guys that I would consider to be the best for that.
I had 3 guys, and I love my boy Mike Conley, but I didn't pick him.
Okay.
So I also had John Morant as one of them.
Yep.
But in addition to him, and again, I'll go over this. I kind of picked 3, in some cases 4, depending on the franchise, And then from there, I started organizing my team, right? But I had
you did, yeah. You were trying to assemble a team, yeah.
I had John Morant, Marc Gasol, and Zach Randolph.
I forgot about Marc Gasol, and I forgot about Zach
Randolph. Kind
Randolph.
of my top 3 Grizzlies ever.
Okay, right? I forgot about them. This is why we're doing this, man. Because I looked at the longevity, which is why I thought Mike Conley, deserved to be on that list. But Zach Randolph is a good one, man. I forgot about him being a really good player. And Marc Gasol, for sure, he was really good too. We both picked John Morant, but he's very early in his career, right? We don't know if he's already been injured, this season, and he got suspended last season. I think he brushed himself up now. I think he's gotten better at some of his off, court shenanigans. I think he's kind of spruced himself up. But as far as, I think we have to pick somebody that's not that new. So I would tend to probably agree with your list more than mine. My guy that I kind of highlighted as the guy was Mike Conley. But after hearing, I forgot about Zach Randolph and I forgot about Marc Gasol. And I think I probably picked Marc Gasol now that I kind of see the full list.
Okay.
Now, who Would you
Yeah,
agree with
so here's the deal, right? So here's where you and I are going to have a little bit of a conversation.
Okay.
And I'll get into it as we go to the other teams. So I agree, Marc Gasol is the best player. To my opinion, he's the best player in Grizzlies franchise.
Yes.
But for assembling the squad that I'm assembling, I pick Ja Morant.
Okay. Okay. Well,
so
yeah.
I want to point that out. And so as we go down the line, I'll explain the logic there. But yeah.
Okay. So why don't we do this?
The best player, it's Marc Gasol.
Okay. So, but okay. If we want to pick, okay. I like the way you're doing it. I didn't even consider that. I just picked the best. Let's put it this way. I just picked the best player who I thought from each franchise is. And whatever the starting five came out to be, if it's all centers, oh well, right? Against all guards.
And that's great. So if that's the case, then I would go with Marc Gasol. If we're actually assembling a team, I'm picking Ja Morant.
Okay. But
okay,
we're saying
just keep that in the back of your mind.
I hear you.
Go through everyone else. We can talk that through.
But we can always revise this once we get to the very end. Once we finish all the teams, and then we look at like how they're constructed, we can always adjust it, right? To see, if they're going to go ahead and compete against this team, we can probably make that adjustment at the end. But for right now, let's go ahead and settle on Marc Gasol.
Marc Gasol. Okay.
Marc Gasol is the best.
Yep.
Okay. Go to the Rockets.
This was the easiest one.
That was easy, man, for me too. The dream, right? The dream.
We're picking the same guy, and not only was he the number one guy, he was also on my team. I built my team around this guy. Right?
Oh, okay. Interesting. Interesting.
So basically, Hakeem Olajuwon is the best player, in my opinion, in Rockets history. But for the sake of conversation, two other guys that I added was James Harden and Tracy McGrady. Those are two guys that I put in the Rockets organization as possible candidates, but to me, it's hands down Hakeem.
I agree too. And the other guys that I had on there, but it's only because of the longevity, and I never really seen this guy play. I only saw him when I was young, and I don't remember him too much. Elvin Hayes was a guy that played for the Rockets, and then Yao Ming. I actually had him up there too, right?
Yeah, I considered Yao Ming, but I like I said, I didn't want to go. Like 4 was the most that I wanted to pick, which was the Spurs. I picked 4 on the Spurs case, but to me, I stuck with 3. I agree though. Yao Ming probably is somewhere in that conversation. His career was a little shorter than everyone else, and so it was that's why I didn't keep him as a stronger candidate.
Okay, so we both settled on
Hakeem,
the Dream, Olajuwon as the Rockets.
Yeah,
and that's an easy one for me.
And for those that don't know, for those out there that don't know, Hakeem is both Eddie and I's pretty much favorite NBA player. And for you youngsters, please go on YouTube and watch highlights of Hakeem. That dude was a beast.
Unbelievable, man.
A beast.
He is. He was.
Yep. I mean, and a little bit of sneak preview. To me, I mean, obviously it depends on the one-on-ones, but he is definitely, for me, a candidate on the one-on-one. One of the greatest one-on-one players. Of course, we're going to talk about three-pointers. That's going to come into play, and that wasn't part of his game. But that doesn't mean he couldn't do it. That just wasn't emphasized in his time in the league. But
I agree. But towards the end of his career, he started shooting more outside, and he actually was shooting it pretty decent. So he was a good mid-range turnaround jump shot guy, but he started shooting from deep, and he started shooting it at a decent clip, man. So, but anyway, so all right, right now we have the Grizzlies with Marc Gasol, we have the Rockets with Hakeem Olajuwon, and that right now is our front court right now. But we're not going to worry about that right now. We'll worry about that later. Okay,
we'll worry about that later. All good.
We're going to worry about that later. Right now, we're picking the best. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So now we go to the Mavericks.
You go this time. You go first.
Okay. So I had 3 candidates here. I had Dirk Nowitzki, I had Luka Doncic, and I have Jason Kidd.
Good.
Who did you pick?
So I had Dirk Nowitzki and Luka Doncic. I didn't put Jason Kidd on there because I thought to myself whether Kidd was better with the Nets than he was with the Mavericks. I started kind of thinking that through, like where he was at his greatest.
Yeah, but he won his championship with the Mavericks.
Correct. He did, but he was really good with the Nets.
He was.
Yeah, so I kind of separated that and kind of like So that was kind of a conflicting. So I had it down to Dirk Nowitzki and Luka Doncic. And to me, just because Luka's career is still early, it was a no-brainer. I went with Dirk Nowitzki.
Okay, I'm going with Luka Doncic, man.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I just think he's going, when it comes down to it. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki is an all-timer. We know that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that Don Nelson called him to be the best player in that draft. And everybody was like, what? Yeah. Are you smoking it? No freaking way, right? And he was right. John Nelson was right, man. So,
so funny little story, Eddie, that you may like really quick because we brought up Don Nelson. So I was watching a podcast or something, I don't remember, but they were asking Tim Hardaway about why he fell so far in the draft, and
Dirk Nowitzki. Why Dirk Nowitzki or why Tim Hardaway?
No, why Tim Hardaway.
Why Tim Hardaway fell? Okay.
I think Tim Hardaway was 19th or something. I don't remember where he was, but he was in the teens.
He was in the teens.
Yeah, he was in the teens.
Where.
And so what's funny is he tells a story like he didn't understand. He thought he was going to go to this other squad and he's getting picked up. Come to find out that Don Nelson was telling everybody that Tim Hardaway had bad knees and that he couldn't play.
No way.
Yeah, and he convinced everybody that Tim Hardaway had bad knees. And when the Warriors came, they swooped him right up. He was sandbagging for Hardaway, dude.
Dude, that guy, he's classic.
That dude is a class act, bro, right there.
I love when Don Nelson comes on the radio shows and talks, man, because he's hilarious, man.
He don't care about nothing, dude. He's just like whatever. Smoking his weed, drinking his booze. He's like, what's going on,
smoking his weed, drinking his booze. Yeah, he's just hilarious, man.
So anyway, I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
That's funny, man. That's funny, man. So all right, man. So we gotta,
Okay, so we got to talk about this. So you went with Luka.
I think Dirk Nowitzki's on my list too. I picked Luka Doncic only because I think he's one of these players that is going to be considered probably one of the top 10 players of all time. Okay. I don't know if Dirk Nowitzki is, but we're all this is all projections, right? I mean, Luka Doncic is still very early in his career. The only thing that is really bad about him is that he complains way too much, honestly.
But we can't, in this instance, we can't hold that against him. But I agree with you. He's a little bit of a baby.
That's it. But his defense has gotten better. It's not great, but it's not bad. But it wasn't
like Nowitzki's defense was awesome either.
Correct. Yeah. Now, Dirk Nowitzki had a unstoppable shot because he was so freaking tall, and it was way up there, man. It was like a Jack Sigma kind of looking shot, and he kind of invented that one leg kind of, shot.
Yeah, that little step back,
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, from a legacy standpoint, Dirk Nowitzki is probably the better pick. I just picked Luka because I think he's a guy that is going to come down as one of the best. Now, that's the only reason
I can't argue with that. I have to go look, but my guess here, my gut tells me that if you grab, what's Luka in his fifth year?
Luka, I think he might be more than that, but I'm not sure.
Okay, let's just say whatever. Let's just say sixth year. I would say that Luka in his sixth season has done more than Dirk did in his sixth season.
For sure. Yeah. That's an absolute for sure.
Yeah. So based on that, I can't disagree with you. I'm willing to agree to Luka.
Okay. I'm going to agree to Luka. Okay, so let's agree to Luka then?
Yeah, we'll agree to Luka.
Okay. So right now we have Marc Gasol from the Grizzlies. We have Akeem Olajuwon from the Rockets. Now we have Luka Doncic from the Mavericks.
Correct.
As the best players for each of those franchises in the Southwest.
But let me ask you this, Eddie. Regardless of numbers, if Luka never wins a championship, is he better than Dirk?
If Luka never wins a championship, is he better than Dirk? I would say, okay. I would say yes. Okay. I would say yes, but we're in this championship kind of world, right? We all know that Karl Malone never won a championship. We all know that John Stockton never won a championship, right?
Yep.
Who would you say is better between Karl Malone and Charles Barkley even though they both haven't won, right?
For me,
Whiskey's won one.
For me, I'm going to take aesthetics into it, right? Because I think they're pretty close, but I would lean with Barkley because I just love the way Barkley plays.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. And it's probably not the right, analogy because Barkley's never won one, Karl Malone's never won one, Dirk Nowitzki has won one. And Luka Doncic, came close last year.
Yeah, but the people you named, Stockton, Malone, and Barkley never won one because there was this one guy floating around that went.
Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
right.
But Nowitzki won one with Tim Duncan was in his prime. He won one. When he won it, Tim Duncan was there. Kobe was there. There was. I mean, maybe they were a little beyond their prime, but he beat LeBron for his championship. So I mean, he won one not against nobodies. I'll put it that way.
I hear you. All right.
Yeah.
So, okay,
but I agree with you. I agree. Right now, on pure talent alone, if Luka wins the championship, I think all Maverick fans would agree Luka's better than Dirk. I think that right now the only thing holding Luka down is that he doesn't have a championship and Dirk won one.
Yeah, but it took Dirk. I don't know how many years.
It took him a while. It took him a while. He was probably
right?
in double-digit seasons by the time he won. But
yes. But I think Luka is going to be like one of these players that's going to be considered. But anyway, so we agreed on Luka, right?
We're Luka. Yep.
Now we go on to the Spurs. There's only one other team after this. So the Spurs. All right. I had 5 players to consider.
Okay. I had 4.
Okay. I had Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, you were there. I didn't put him.
Oh yeah, dude. That dude's gonna be a beast, dude. He already is.
I agree with you, but
he already is.
But I don't disagree with you.
Okay, so I had him. Okay. I had the Iceman, George Gervin.
Okay.
I had Tony Parker.
Yes.
I had David Robinson.
Yes.
And I had Tim Duncan.
Okay. All right. I had Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and Tony Parker like you.
Yep.
However, I can't believe you missed him. I put Kawhi Leonard on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I put Kawhi Leonard. And as I was building my team, again, I've already explained this. Kawhi Leonard was the one I picked because he fit in the team dynamic of divisional competition.
Well, we can, like I said, we can adjust later. But
we can adjust later. But if you're asking me, which you are, the best player, it's got to be Tim Duncan. Like
that's
to me, it's got to be. Now, Wembanyama's going to threaten that.
Absolutely.
We're going to see because that dude, if he continues on the trajectory he's going, it's going to be embarrassing. Like he's just going to be a whole other creature, right?
Dude,
and what's interesting is, what made Jordan great, right? Well, what made Jordan great was that he brought an element to the league that no one had seen. He's flying through the air. Other players have done it, but not to the degree that he did it. What makes Steph unique? His shooting, right? He kind of changed the league. When you look at Kobe, as great as Kobe was, he was a copy of Jordan. So he could never supersede the person he was copying.
Right.
And when you look at LeBron, like LeBron is as great as he is, and he is great, he doesn't bring anything net new. He just does, like, it's kind of longevity. If you have to say what he brings, it's longevity, and it's taking care of himself, and it's a business-like demeanor. But in terms of, like, to the court, he doesn't do anything necessarily unique.
Yeah, I hear you.
What's exciting about Wembanyama is that he does bring something unique, right? He's a great player at 7'6". Like, we have not seen that.
I think 7'4", yeah. 7'4",
okay, so sure, 7'4", yeah, okay.
It's incredible all the stuff
he have not seen that. He shoots from the outside. He goes from the. I mean, he's a 5-tool player. If this was baseball, he's a 5-tool player in a 7'4" body.
But what's interesting, bro, is I had him on this list, and he's in his second year, man.
No, I know, I didn't put him in there just because I'm like it's so early. But I get you. I'm not going to disagree with you.
Dude,
like, you're prognosticating here a little bit, but
absolutely. I'm telling you right now, man. If this guy stays healthy and doesn't have any catastrophic injuries, he is going to be considered top 2. Honestly, he's on that trajectory, dude.
I'm with you.
He's unbelievable, dude.
Let me ask you this political question, right? For our Grumblings media members out there, do you think that he'll get knocked because he's not American?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think it'll matter?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so at all, man. I mean, because arguably the best player in the NBA right now are not from America. Honestly.
No, I agree. But when you look at the greatest NBA players of all time, right?
They're not. Yeah, the greatest NBA players of all time. There are not. I don't think there are any
No, there's not. I mean, people would argue. I've always argued for Kareem. That's been my own personal
Steve Nash might be up there. He's Canadian.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at Jordan, Kareem, LeBron, right?
Magic, Bird.
You know, if you want to throw Steph in there, maybe that's premature.
Curry will be there. Right?
All American. So that, to me, do you think that would impact him?
I don't think so. Only because the whole non-American movement of this influx of talent from everywhere else but America is a pretty recent thing, man. It's not something that was back in the 50s and 60s, you know, in 70s and 80s. It wasn't. There were some. You had Manu Ginobili, right? Tony Parker, you know, of that, you know.
Peja,
I'm sure there's others.
What's the guy from the Nets that died?
Drazen Petrovic.
Drazen Petrovic, yeah.
Petrovic. Then you have like a Tracy McGrady who's Canadian. You know, so you have, I mean, you have some international flair from back in the day, but you're not seeing the influx that you're seeing now, dude. So I don't think it's going to matter. All right. So
we agree, Tim Duncan.
We agree that Tim Duncan is the Spurs. So what we have right now is Marc Gasol, we have Hakeem Olajuwon, we have Luka Doncic, and now we have Tim Duncan from the Spurs.
That's a hell of a squad right there.
Southwest Division. Now, the last one is the Pelicans, and they only had two.
I only had two as well.
Probably the same two, Chris Paul and Anthony Davis.
That's correct. And I went with Anthony Davis.
I went with Chris Paul, man. You know how much I like Anthony Davis.
I know.
You know how much I like Anthony Davis.
I went with Anthony Davis.
And the only reason I went with Chris Paul is because I think he definitely changed or turned that franchise around. And he's definitely been with the Pelicans the longest. I think that he's probably the leader in a lot of statistics for the Pelicans for their franchise. I haven't looked that up. I'm sure Anthony Davis is up there too. Yeah. But I think Anthony Davis, you know, I think he's going to make more of his mark as a Laker.
I think you might be right. And part of why I picked Anthony Davis again, because I was assembling a team, right? And
I hear you.
Yeah. So I'll agree with you. I'll go with Chris Paul. I have no issues with Chris Paul picking him. So I'm good with that. Because again, I'm making decisions based on, you know.
Yeah. I hear you. You. Okay.
And so just for the record, the team that I had assembled, just so you're aware, was Morant, Hakeem, Kawhi, Anthony Davis, and Dirk Nowitzki. Right?
Okay.
That was the squad that I had with either Anthony Davis or Nowitzki playing the three.
Okay.
One of them had to play the three.
And we can adjust as we need, right? But right now, we just wanted to pick the best. And
so we got Marc Gasol, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, Luka Doncic, and Chris Paul.
Correct.
Yes.
Pretty good starting 5-2, man.
That's a pretty good squad right there, too.
All right. So we finished with that team. Now,
out
of all these guys, who is the number one? Who would take everybody on the one-on-one? We got to pick the best out of all of these five. We know, for one, Marc Gasol is not even in the conversation.
No, he's not, and neither is Zach Randolph.
And Zach, we're going.
Of the number ones that we picked.
Out of all the guys we picked.
Yep, Hakeem.
Okay, I would say it's either Luka or Hakeem.
Yeah, I go with Hakeem just because I think Hakeem stands a chance of blocking some Luka shots, and I think Luka stands no chance at stopping Hakeem.
He has no chance. It's a good call, man. It's a good call. And the thing is Hakeem is agile enough to contain Luka.
Yeah,
he's agile enough to frustrate him enough so that he can't get where he wants to go. Right.
Yep.
Whereas we know Marc Gasol has no shot.
Correct.
But Tim Duncan, he caused some problems too, but he's not as agile.
He's not as agile.
He's not as agile.
Actually, we didn't pick him. John Morant, he's speed, but he's going to get dominated. He's just small.
For sure.
Chris Paul,
no chance.
No chance.
All right.
No go.
We agree.
The only guy that we didn't pick that might have gave Hakeem a run for his money is Kawhi Leonard that I had.
Kawhi Leonard, maybe. Yeah, Kawhi Leonard, because he's strong enough and he's pesky enough on defensive to be able to cause a problem.
Yep.
Yeah, he's probably the only one, I think. But out of the guys that we picked, Hakeem is the best one-on-one player out of the Southwest Division. All right. So there you have it, man. We went ahead. I'm
going to put a little asterisk for Hakeem there.
Do it, man. All right, so we're gonna do this every week for the next 6 weeks. right? We're going to do the exact same process. And then until we get to the final 6 teams and the final 6 best players one-on-one. All right. So we're going to get there in 6 weeks from now. We're going to have, and then we're going to figure out who's the best team of all time from there. We'll go through this process, right?
Okay.
Best conference divisional team of all time, not best team, best divisional team, right?
Yep.
All right, man. So that was, it's
cool.
An interesting process, right?
I like that.
Cool. That was cool, man, right? All right, man. So let's go on to the last part of our show, man. And we're at an hour. Not bad, man. We did it. We did it, bro. All right. So now we get to the rookie watch or the fantasy. Yeah, there we go, bro. All right, man. So now you can scroll over so we can get to game numbers. Maybe let's get to like game 25 to 36 if you can show that on the screen.
How's that?
Actually, maybe game 26 then. Yeah, that's pretty good right there. Right, that's good. All right, so you can see, bro.
You took off on me again.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's what I wanted to point out. So like, whoop.
We lost Eddie, everyone. In his excitement, I think he dropped from the call. We'll give him here a minute, but in the meantime, the delta here, as everyone can see, it's a delta of 417.6 points. So Eddie's got a 417-point lead. Over the last couple of games, you guys here in bold, you're able to tell the game-to-game matchups, which are great. So like in game 28, for example, Eddie destroyed me. He scored 117 points here to my 29.7, which is quite a difference, right? Almost 100 points difference. And he had pretty much great outings from Sar, Edie, Sheed here was doing really well. And let's see what we got here. Eddie is pinging me, I think. So give me a second. He said his PC crashed and he'll be back. So looking at the bolded week to week, again, just seeing, week 29, we were fairly close. Week 30, he was a little bit ahead of me. Game 31, he had a pretty good jump. I was making ground here because Edie was out for a couple of games, and looks like from game 32 to game 34, he had no points. So it allowed me to kind of try to make up some ground. But even in those weeks, I was still significantly behind because looks like Sar and Castle here are really carrying him through the season. Castle did have a bad game here in game 32, but overall, I think I got it under 200 points, and now he stretched it back out to 400. So we'll see how this goes because this is going to take some effort now. I'm getting a little concerned because game 37, right? There's 72 games in a season, so we're just about at the halfway point. So it's going to take some time. As for me, my second rounder, which was Filipowski, compared to Cody Williams, which was Eddie's second rounder. For those, just a reminder, our rules for drafting was 4 first rounders and at least 1 second rounder. So my second rounder again was Filipowski, and his was Cody Williams. Cody Williams was out for a while. Looks like he came back for a couple games, then he was out a couple of games. So he's kind of in and out of the lineup. I think he's going in and out of the G League. For me, I know that Filipowski was out for a minute, but then he's been back. Reed Shepard, looks like he's just hasn't been really playing the last couple games, which is disappointing. I thought he would have a pretty good role considering Houston's pretty active. I thought he'd be a good backup point, but that doesn't seem to be happening. And then Bucelis, which was someone that I was excited about over the summer league, was kind of picking up a little bit, and now he's leveled off a little bit, so he's up and down. And then Dalton Connect, he's been, hit or miss here with the Lakers, but he's been holding his own. So I think, for me at least, I think Connect and Reece Arche are probably my horses. Filipowski is going to kind of wait and see, even though he had some high numbers here in the middle. And then Shepard, if he doesn't play, is obviously going to hurt me. And then Bucelis, Bucelis is going to take some time. I think he's a real talented player, and I think over time, Bucelis might prove to be one of the steals of the draft. But as of right now, I think he's still figuring things out and going. I was just talking metrics, Eddie. Welcome back.
Right on, brother. Hey, dude, that's the first time it's ever happened to me, man. Sorry, the audience. I kind of my PC crashed without any warning. like it said it ran out of batteries, but anyway, it was plugged in. I think this is the power supply that I got. That's just not, it's jacked. But anyway, bro, I don't know what you covered, but
yeah. Well, I was just talking about, you have some horses here. I highlighted game 28 where you freaking ripped the doors off of me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
17 points to 29. I talked about that a little bit. I talked about Cody Williams, who's probably going up and down on the G League. Probably will do so for the rest of the season. So you're probably gonna get some zeros scattered around, with some points. I talked about, kind of my horses here are really Research and Connect are really the two guys that I have to hang my hat on, while you got three potential good horses, which is Edie, Sar, and Castle.
Right. Real quick. Go ahead and move that little bar over where you have two bars there, like it's dividing the screen. Yeah. Move that over to the right a little bit, and you're going to see like the totals. There we go, totals. That's how much you can see each player has contributed to this point, right? So you can see right there, Sar.
There we go.
Yeah, so Sar right now, 866 points. Remember I was talking about earlier, like, when we were talking about the different, we're covering the different categories for each of the rookies, that Sar was the one that really, really shined, in my opinion. But this is just only because I've been keeping track. So you can see, like, how much of a contributor he is to my team. And then you can see Castle.
Yeah, right. And Edie got hurt, or I think Edie'd be right around the same total as well.
Edie would have been probably higher than all of them if he had not gotten hurt. He missed a lot of time. Right.
Yeah.
But you can see, and your guy, Research, he's the only guy that's in the 700s, right? And
Correct.
Dalton Connect is a guy that's in the 500s. But I have three guys that are more than 500 right now.
Correct.
Right.
I only have two guys, which is
correct. So yeah. But the thing, Bacelis is going to get more playing time. The one guy that, and he was your number 2 pick, Shepard. Shepard is the guy that's kind of been screwing you. Unfortunately, it's only because he's on a very good team and he's not getting any run. Really,
correct.
That's the reason.
Correct.
So
I thought for sure he'd run backup point duties, but and he does to some extent, but not enough to make an impact on my squad here.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you can see, man. Right now the difference between us is 417.6. You had it down to sub 200 at one time. Now.
Yep, it was like 190, 180, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's up to 417. It's only because I got some of my players back, right? And that was the problem. Yep. You need. I mean, dude, we have a whole nother half of the season left to go, man. Right? Correct. We're not even halfway through the season. We're almost there, but you have a lot of ground that you can make up. Especially if injuries continue to happen and some of your guys start getting more playing time, which is starting to happen. All right. It's starting to happen. So,
right. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I was less concerned earlier on. I'm a little more concerned now, obviously, as we're getting through halfway the season, because we're starting to set trends. But, there's rookie walls. There's, both Sar and Research actually played professionally. I believe they came from a professional league over in France, so they may not hit a wall, but some of the other players may. Castle may hit a wall, and so he may start impacting. Maybe Shepard gets a couple more minutes and starts picking up. So, we'll see, but right now you're looking strong. You're looking good.
So, like first half of the season, I have the lead. I had a huge, even a bigger lead than this at one time, right? So you bridged the gap for sure. Yeah. And it's going to. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close till the end. But a lot of things can happen. A lot of injuries can happen, right? So, but anyway, so we're done with this. Now we can go to the seedings.
This one's actually one I'm interested in because in my head, things are starting to kind of
shape up.
Well, things are starting to get closer to what we were predicting.
Yeah, exactly. But you can see like how off we are from the West. The West, we were completely off. The East, it was easier to predict, but the West, man, I mean, if you look at your total, I think you're up. I think if you scroll down or scroll it up a little bit, you can see the total scores right there. Yeah. So you can have you're right now at 61. I'm at 52, with the best for each conference being 75 points. Right. Yeah. So you can see from a percentage standpoint, we're not really good from on the Western Conference, because you get 21 out of 75. I mean, that's pretty low. Same thing for 20 out of 75. But right now you're ahead of me, and this is shifting on a week-to-week basis. But again, the points, the scoring that we have here is Twan and I had make predictions, and you can see that where it says projected. I'm the one in the blue. The blue is the East, the orange is the Western Conference. But you can see that Twan is the first column on the left for each of those conferences, and I'm the one on the right of Twan. So you can see that we had projected. Those are our predictions at the beginning of the season, and then you can see the actuals that are right next to it. And then the scoring system that we came up with was 5 points if we got the exact seeding correct, and then 3 points if we were off by 1 in either direction, and then 2 points if we were off by 2 in either direction, and then nothing after that. So that's why you see a lot of zeros on the West, because we were completely off.
The Pelicans are going to kill us, because I don't think they're doomed. I think.
Yeah, they're doomed. I agree.
Yeah, the Wolves, I still obviously had them higher. I had them as the second seed, and they're starting to make some strides. The Spurs, like as the 9th seed is crazy to me. But again, we talked about that a little bit. That's really, we mentioned this in the Olympics. I thought the way Wemby was playing in the Olympics was really kind of eye-opening, and kind of he was starting to stretch his arms, as it were, a little bit. And I think that's starting to show itself here in the league. And
right.
Yeah.
I agree, man.
He's good. Freaking Pop, Pop's gonna go from Robinson to Duncan to Leonard to Wemby.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, bro.
And I would argue that probably Wemby's gonna be the best out of all of them.
It's going to be hard to argue with that, but if you calculate championships, obviously Duncan had 4, and that's going to. But I agree.
No, he had 5. He had 5. 5.
Oh, 5. Sorry, yeah, he had 5. And so on talent alone, though, I think that's not a stretch. I mean,
not a stretch, man. Not a stretch.
Wemby can do what Duncan did plus, and then some.
Yeah, dude, crazy. But that dude's gonna be dude. Assuming he stays healthy, he's gonna be a beast. So, but anyway, that's it, man. As far as our show, man. So we covered, the trades that have happened, up to this date. We're gonna see a lot more trades starting to happen within the next month for sure. Then we kind of dovetailed into the rookie tracker, where we kind of on a monthly basis, we're going to go ahead and review the statistics for each of the top 10 rookies in 3 major categories, meaning, the minutes played, points, and then overall analytics, right? And you can see how they differ as far as the analytics versus the more subjective NBA.com rankings that come out about once a month as well. So we're going to go ahead and do that on a monthly basis, so you can kind of anticipate it coming every month. And then we have this new thing that we decided to go ahead and, do a quest to determine the best one-on-one player of all time, as well as the best divisional starting 5 of all time. And we went ahead and covered the Southwest Division, where we covered the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Mavericks, the Spurs, and the Pelicans. And we came up with a team right now that is Marc Gasol, Hakeem Olajuwon, Luka Doncic, Tim Duncan, and Chris Paul. That right now is the best starting 5 from the Southwest Division that we came up with for this week. For next week, we're going to go ahead and dovetail into the Eastern Conference. We're going to go ahead and go to the Southeast Division of the Eastern Conference. And we're going to go ahead and cover teams. The teams that we're going to cover are the Orlando Magic, the Miami Heat, the Atlanta Hawks, the Charlotte Hornets, and then also the Washington Wizards. So, of course, we're going to have to cover the Bullets too, right? The Washington
Bullets. Yeah, I was going to say AK Bullets.
Right.
For a quick little update to anyone who's paying attention, just an interesting score. The Cavaliers beat the Thunder today. So, that's a powerhouse matchup. That's a potential finals preview.
And it was a good game, man. It was a good game. And what's interesting is that it shows you how deep the Cavaliers are, because Donovan Mitchell wasn't playing well at all, man. He got into foul trouble. He only had 5 points up until the first half. I think he only had 5 points. No, actually, it might have even been up to the when they were in the third quarter. He only had 5 points, man. So it goes to show you, man, if that guy's rolling, oh man. So
no, I know. I mean, Mobley, we've talked about him. I think Mobley's a stud in the making.
Yep.
And Garland, when the Cavaliers played the Warriors, like Garland was just on fire. Like I was just super impressed with his game in that particular matchup. And
for sure, he's like a Dennis Schroeder, because he's very fast. He can break defenses down.
They're a solid squad. They're going to make the Eastern Conference playoffs interesting.
Interesting. Right? I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you, man. So, but anyway, so we covered those topics. We're a little bit over time. 5 minutes, unfortunately, was because my PC broke down. But Twan, thanks for clearing the script a little bit, bro. But anyway, so again, this is Eddie Aparicio. This is Anthony Corral. This is Buzzer Beaters. And we are here live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And please tune in. We want to hear your comments. That's why we're live, getting your questions and your commentary. Tell us what you'd like us to talk about in the next ensuing weeks before the NBA season comes to an end, which is we're not even halfway, but we're a long way from there. But anyway, please join us. If you can find us at grumblingsmedia.com, you can also find us at multiple podcast outlets such as YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, X, any of those. Again, name it. All right. So this is Eddie and Anthony, Buzzer Beaters. We're also called the Cisco Kids, but we are signing off.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.